Okay, guys, this is my review of American Ninja Warrior Season 12, Episode 1 review. It was just great to have, some Ninja Warriors back. It's been, over a year since, it's almost, approaching a year since the last, full episode, and I like this episode. I think the course was pretty good, but I think the problem was I feel like they fast forward too many, I guess, just important, runs. Because, I just felt like what was weird is because I think it comes down to, the fact that I think this course was not the most fastest pace course, in the sense where it's like you look at some of these obstacles and they do take a decent amount of time to do. I think like the third obstacle is pretty fast, but like the second obstacle requires so many moves, and then you got slingshot, but this course was difficult. I think the most shocking fall, I guess, was flip, because I think slingshot is, I don't know, I felt like slingshot was right up his alley, but I guess just like this idea of like it's very kind of shaky and stuff. But I also was interested how they kind of did it was I think, like, again, it was hard. You could tell about that apparently, obviously they were editing, you know was interesting in that. I just was most surprised that they cut out Tyler Gillette, considering he had the second fastest time. You know, I just thought that was interesting. But I just think it was interesting and weird, because it's like, I felt like that took all tension away from Jody Avila's run. That's the problem. It's like, if you want showing Tyler Gillette's run fast forward really diminishes Jody Avila's run, because he's gonna get the fastest time. They're never gonna not show the guy who got the fastest time if it wasn't, if the person who had the second fastest time was not shown. So it took all attention, because okay, they didn't show Tyler Gillette, so it has to be Jody Avila. There's no, I think, stakes in that run, because you just knew what was gonna happen. And yeah, so it's also, again, a little disappointed, honestly, that they fast forward Tyler's run, because I think knowing that he did very well, I'm like, what happened that he wouldn't be able to kind of show his run? But again, I think this was a really solid episode, overall, I think. Yeah, but again, it was so different, because again, the idea of like top 50 competitors and picking 3 ninjas, and like, because like this episode only probably, this night only probably had in total only about 50 competitors, made it like, with the fast forward segments, only like a few. But again, like I said, it was disappointing, because it was like, what kind of frustrated me was they showed ninjas in the episode that you could have easily plucked out in it to serve some other better ninjas. Because I think Dave Kavanaugh getting fast forward was just also another crazy sense, because I think, when you look at Dave last season, you're like, okay, he did great last season. Nope, you can't even show him. And that's what kind of always frustrates me with Grant McCartney, is he's a great TV personality, but I think, yes, he made up Megawall. Yes, that's the biggest accomplishment by him. But truly, to get the amount of screen time he gets, I think does become lunacy. Because it's not even like he made up the Megawall this episode. And I think they're really scratching the surface of, oh, what can we tell about Grant McCartney? Oh, that he can, crush fruits. It just makes it, because it's like, you have, again, like a great TV personality, but I never ever truly feel like he adds any genuine value. Especially because showing Grant, who was never that fast, besides LA in season 9 qualifying, when he had the fastest time. Besides that, he always goes pretty damn slow. And so and his run was like 5 minutes long, and that was kind of what frustrates me is you can't see ninjas who even hit the buzzer. Like, did you know John Alexis Jr. hit the buzzer, and he got completely skipped? You know, it was like, and again, the biggest example, Tyler Gillette, couldn't get shown, and Dave Kavanaugh, and that was kind of what was starting to get frustrating, was you had these ninjas, and again, there's other ninjas throughout the episode where it's like, it became so blatantly obvious, you did not necessarily have to show them, but yeah, they did. But again, there were still some great moments with Nate Hansen, hitting the buzzer. That was kind of cool because it came out of nowhere as kind of as a surprise superstar, man. Jody Villa getting the fastest time was great, and seeing his wife, who battled the coronavirus in the front lines and stuff like that, and so I think there was a lot of great stuff. It was just I think that's kind of like where the TV side of ANW shows over the competitor side, where it's Grant is wasn't special at all in this episode, but because he's a great TV personality, they have to show him. Versus Tyler Gillette, who got the second fastest time, which again, like I said, kind of made it very weird and kind of upsetting, because like, okay, you have this ninja, Tyler Gillette, who did very well, and then you have and same thing with John Alexis Jr. and all this stuff. But I think if you had shown Tyler Gillette, then it would actually benefit the episode by having genuine stakes for Jody Avila. And then constantly the Akbar and Matt constantly gave hints away with their post voiceover, because they'll constantly say, like, for example, when what's his face, Anthony Eardley ran the course, which is just one example. When he got to what's the ring obstacle, catch the ring or whatever, the skyhook part of the obstacle, he would say, this jump is very tricky, and I'm like, okay, he's probably gonna fall, and then he falls. And the same thing with Sandy Zimmerman. They're like, oh, this jump's hard, or this move is hard, referring to the slingshot. Then she jumps and falls. And then Flip, she's like, oh, you bet, that's gotta make you nervous. Okay, let's see what he can do here. This is a hard move, and then he falls. And they constantly did that throughout. They're like, and Mike Wright is like the opposite of that. And I knew Mike Wright was going to finish because they were like, oh, he's never hit the buzzer. Like, that was literally a story. Like, he could hit the buzzer. He never hits the buzzer. And when you have a promo or a thing about that, at the beginning when you talk about yourself, when you have in your interviews, basically the whole idea is that you never hit a buzzer before. Then you're clearly gonna hit the buzzer, because I don't think AEW wants to make anybody look bad. Lucas, what? Making a video. And I think is by what's it called? By talking about Mike Wright never finishing the course, it made it obvious that he would, because can you imagine they have this whole idea of, oh, he's never hit the buzzer before and he still doesn't hit the buzzer? That would look so bad on Mike Wright. So obviously that would be a finish. Obviously you're like, okay, obviously he's gonna finish. Alyssa Bear, great to see, her finish, and so I guess the frustrating part is, I don't necessarily think you should cut anyone out of the episode. It's just, the main idea is that I think that the run time of every episode really does need to be longer, because I think when you think about it, of who would I cut out, I can say who I want to cut out, but ultimately, like, do I really still want to see, Grant not run? So it's like, that kind of is the frustrating part. It's like, well, if you want someone to get cut out, who is it? And it's like, well, maybe I don't. Maybe I'm just fine with whoever, isn't cut out. Whatever. But so yeah, I guess but I liked the episode. Like, don't get me wrong, I liked the episode very much. I think it was great to see like the Flip and Alyssa and Jody and Grant and the great new faces like Nate Hansen and Alyssa's group and Sandy's group and yeah, I guess that would be what I'd contend to say. And Jody Vila and his wife, and so I mean it was a good episode. It was really good, but I don't think it was like insanely great, insanely good, but it was good. It was a good episode, and great just to have Ninja Warrior back. But it was still just like, don't get me wrong, I'm talking negative just about what frustrates me, but really the course is cool. The results were interesting, and seeing the new format and all that stuff. But again, also, you could tell that because I think this was the episode Drew was supposed to run in, so you could tell that they very much edited out the Power Tower, edited out that. Now that might be a reason why they didn't show Tyler Gillette's run, because he also had a great story about his cousin. But maybe they had already going into the after, maybe they had edited Tyler out, but then when they had to edit Drew out, they couldn't really edit back in Tyler. So instead they're like, because like I felt like runs like Anthony Erdley felt so out of place. Like, let's just show Anthony Erdley, who didn't, like, nothing was special about his run, and so I felt like they maybe like threw in an extra like run just to throw in a run here or there. So maybe that's why, and because like you could tell that was the episode he was supposed to run in, because his two other teammates, Julius Ferguson for Black Jules and Taylor Johnson ran in this episode. So it was interesting in that department of kind of how they edited it. But yeah, which is why another interesting thing, they never mentioned the Power Tower once, because if they had mentioned the Power Tower and then not even shown the Power Tower in this episode, then that would be weird, because it was like the Power Tower, top 2, whatever. So in next episode, they're going to be like, and guess what? We have the Power Tower. But I think that will definitely bring up why they didn't have the Power Tower in this episode, but obviously they couldn't. Stay tuned for videos.